So, welcome back again. We have found the missing man, Clayton himself.
We actually applied for an extradition, and they granted the extradition, and we got him in our...
Had to hire the cartels. It was like a huge thing. Like, we're going to put a movie out over the extraction of Clayton.
I don't think they needed to put the ankle bracelet on me, though.
That was more for me, just so I knew where you're at. Keep tracks on you now.
We've only done 2 episodes without Clayton, but
They were so much better.
way easier and less drama. But we brought him back just to show him the improvements that we did with this podcast. And he was really sad that we ventured on without him. So yeah, without further ado, Clayton Dybert.
Is that where you add an applause? I'm happy to be back on the podcast from this side, even though I'm always across the table from you in the original. It feels nice to be across the table from you.
Tell the people what you've been doing, hiding away.
Hiding away. I decided within a very short amount of time that I didn't want to live in Canada anymore, so I gave myself 5 months and sold everything and moved to Mexico, and now I'm living in Mexico full time. And what I do? Not a lot. a lot of building phase. It's a lot of trying to figure out how to do business down there in a different culture, in a different country, with a different language and a different set of rules, and everything's so much different. So a lot of it has been getting businesses off the ground and figuring out how to conduct business down there. It's a lot different.
So, let's go with the first business then. Let's go with your first business.
What's the first business?
Real estate.
Real estate.
How's that going for you?
I mean, I would have liked it to be going better, of course. I think everyone, I don't know if anyone in their first year would come back and say, I wish I did worse.
I had a pretty good year, my first year.
Do you wish you did worse?
Probably. I would have had a lot more happy clients, I think.
It's a lot different. It's a big shift going from living here, having a big sphere of influence here, having the people already know me, to living in a tourist destination city. That's been the biggest hurdle, is handling expectations and timelines and figuring out what people want. A lot of the time I find when people are shopping for a house locally where they do everything, it's like, okay, where's close to schools, where's close to work, where's close to the things we need, and then the rest will settle on it. Well, people are buying a place, whether it's for them to move or whether it's for a vacation or rental, and they get to choose. Like, it's a blank canvas. How do you want to live your life based on where you live? So trying to find people and how to ask them the right questions to find out what they really want and where they really want to be, what's their hierarchy of importance for how they want to live their life down there. And getting that out of people is just like one element of doing real estate in a vacation destination. Like, it's it's difficult. And then also, not to mention, your clients don't live in the city necessarily, because being from Canada, most of my pool of people that I talk to and communicate with for lead generation are all from Canada. So if they're coming down once, maybe on a lucky time, twice a year. So if you don't get something going and don't get pen to paper in that one time, it's like, well, we'll be back in 6 months, or we'll be back in 1 year. So it's a lot different. I can't just pop by their house and drop off a bottle of wine and say, let's hang out and talk real estate for a little while. It doesn't really work that way. Yeah. So it's a whole different grounds and ways of attracting people, and having all those elements stacked on top of each other and figuring out how to get people in and get people to where they find what they want, and then be able to pull the trigger on it and make it all the logistics happen while we're in a difficult transitioning market. It's been a challenge.
You came from a market, the Vancouver Fraser Valley market, that's honestly probably worldwide known for being one of the most expensive cities to live in, to go into a marketplace that might not even be on the radar. So there's not that inherent sexiness to the market. And are you finding that more difficult to get people excited to get to Puerto Vallarta, or do you find it's like they're coming down there because they love it already and they definitely want to set some roots?
Well, so that's the funny thing. I went from the most expensive city in Canada to living in the most expensive city in Latin America. It has surpassed all of the other tourist destination cities in Mexico, like Cancun and Cabo, and it is now the most expensive city, not in Mexico, but in all of Latin America. So it is a world-class destination. Do I think that the prices reflect the world-class, how they do business and how everything functions as a city there? I don't think they're quite there yet, but people are coming with money in droves to that area. I think it's a lot the same as Vancouver, actually. The way it's set up, it's landlocked. It's in a bay surrounded by mountains, and you're on a border. It's not a federal border; it's just a state border. But either way, and it's bringing in a lot of people. There's room to grow. There's different routes of highway to connect to different cities to bring in more people and more money. So it is a big place where people are investing money. But just like when markets are struggling here and struggling in the States, that's going to trickle down, and it's slowing down in Mexico as well, and has been for the last little while. So it's just a matter of timing everything right and having all the resources, and as soon as people are ready to pull the trigger, you be there to facilitate it.
Mm-hmm.
So with your struggles then of kicking off the real estate down there, what has your mindset been?
Honestly, my mindset has been that it's not the end all be all in real estate. Obviously, I still love doing real estate. I love helping people in any capacity I can, whether it's them moving down there, or picking up an investment property, or just a vacation spot, whatever it may be. But I have other things on the go as well. I have other businesses that I'm venturing into, other ways of building an income that's not tied to a location, so that me and my wife can spend time in other regions and other areas, and not be tied down to one location. But it's just a matter of time. We're putting in all this work to do things, and it's only a matter of time. As we know, in real estate, we're the last people to get paid for anything. Yeah. So it's just a matter of time before paychecks come.
It's good. Like, there's a positive faith that you have, belief that you're going to get there, and it's just, you got to see the path.
Mm-hmm. So, and then I was actually talking to Cam about this today. When I was making the decision to move there, I was like riding the high of my life. You know, everything was clicking, everything was working. There wasn't anything that I couldn't set my mind to and get it done and have the results that I desired. And I made the decision to move while I was in that state. And then after that, I took time off from the grind and the work, and just to, figure things out, whatever that looks like, and knock myself down a peg. I also had my knee injury that, as you know, sidelined me for quite a bit. So I wasn't physically at my best, which affects other things. So I knocked myself down on the totem pole a whole bunch. And now I'm sitting in a foreign country trying to figure out how the heck to do life with, like, literally every pillar of the foundation of my world has all been chopped down a little bit and took me down. So it's like rebuilding myself and rebuilding my skills and attributes that all combine to make the foundation of my business and my success. Mm-hmm. So it hasn't gone at all according to plan, but that's okay. I wouldn't trade it for anything else, and I'd rather be trying to accomplish something bigger than myself than sitting at home wishing that I had tried. And the mindset as well of knowing that you only fail when you stop trying. So if you don't, you can't fail if you keep on pushing.
So let's dive into that a little bit with your negative side of things. When things are not going as well, you find yourself getting knocked down a peg, the knee injury, things like that. What have you done to keep things positive? Because obviously you're talking super positive now, but I guarantee that wasn't the case the whole time, right?
No, of course not. It's like a yo-yo or a roller coaster of ups and downs. And just like in a roller coaster, the downs come fast and you quickly go back up. So you just got to weather those storms of negative thoughts and feelings and emotions. But for staying positive, I think it's honestly a combination of everything, because your mind, your body, your faith, everything that you have that makes up your belief system, and your belief system is how you build things like confidence in yourself. So basically, it's like restacking all of my chips to get me where I was. So, focusing on the physical side of me, the health side of me, my mindset, my focus and my attention span, like getting back into go mode, removing distractions, and being able to, like I said, eliminate all of these things that are not going to get me from here to where I want to be, and eliminating those, and not focusing on the noise coming from outside, because other people's opinions on how things are going or what things are going on, that doesn't have to be, you don't have to take that and absorb that into what you're creating, because that's only going to throw in wrenches and distractions, and it's not going to help you. Mm-hmm. So, me and my wife are going through a purge right now, where, like, on social media, if there's people that like aren't family or really close friends or providing value that is actually helping us build to get from A to B, we're eliminating it.
So no more booty pics on Instagram. Sort of thing.
Yeah, do you know how hard it is
I'm sure
to get that out of your algorithm?
Yeah.
Like I go in and like do not recommend this. Like if it starts going up like pictures of bikinis and stuff, like every single post I'll see, I'll be like, do not recommend this type of content. Do not recommend this type of content. And it takes me like a week to retrain my algorithm to not show me stupid things that I don't want to see.
Yeah.
Look at the nice butts. It's fine.
I was actually going to bring that up is like, I find that when you're away, you reach out to people using social media. That's your way of getting the taste of the family and the friends and kind of getting away from the sadness of being down there alone. Nowadays, they put you in an echo chamber. And so all this stuff of negativity might resonate with you. How do you get past it? And like you're saying, you're shutting off and you're saying you're not wanting these pictures, but there's all these steps.
Okay, so to make a better example of the negativity, taking it away from butts, because it's not butts, it would be more so negativity of things that are happening in the world. And a lot of those things are relevant to my job if I'm helping people in Canada or the US relocate to Mexico or invest in Mexico, diversify, whatever that looks like, because all of these world news things can be affecting how the markets and how things economically and financially and politically are what's going on there. So as it's very hard to draw a line of what I am aware of and what I recognize versus letting that overtake my thoughts and how I'm conducting my business and myself. Because I took like 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, where I was quite heavy on social media and I was pushing more like the investment side of things and I was really niching in on that kind of market and helping people essentially get their foot out of the door in Canada, and for multiple reasons, diversification and to have income in a different country, have residency in a different country, have somewhere to go. If they want to leave, whenever they want to leave, they have a place to go in residency and nothing's stopping them. Yeah. Right? So I took that approach and it didn't feel authentic. I was working with friends of mine that run a very good social media management company, and none of the negative effects that I had from that are because of them. It's all on myself. But like, because I would go back to them in a heartbeat. They're amazing. But the problem was I didn't have my messaging down pat, like, because it didn't feel authentic. It didn't feel like the message that I was providing to people was truly me speaking the way I wanted to speak. And because I just rushed the process and didn't quite have it nailed down yet. So I kind of put the social media on pause and wanted to kind of reassess how I wanted to message to people. And it's coming down to like taking all those outside influences and making me want to convince people of something. And I don't want to be there to convince people. I don't want to be that guy. I don't need to be that guy. And as much as some social media people will tell you, you need to make noise and be polarizing to get attention, but you don't need to do that. As long as you're providing people the value and the knowledge and the things that they need to know and the things that are important to them.
Well, and the way they want to hear it too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and the way they want to hear it. Like I'm not here to, like I said, I'm not here to convince people. If they think the same way that I do and, they want to set themselves up, I'm happy to help. I'm happy to find the best solution that works for them. And if they want to just have a retirement place and they don't give a damn about anything else that's happening in the world and they're just happy in their little thing and they want a vacation spot, happy to help, happy to be the guy that's doing it. But moving away from the convincing and the pushing and just being more authentic and myself is where it's going right now.
So you put yourself in like a sales situation instead of providing the service to people. You were selling the people on the idea instead of helping them make the purchase.
Yeah, I was trying to do it all, and it diluted it and made the messaging unclear as to what what is everything that I'm saying tying back to. Right?
Was that salesman mentality or the process? Did you ever have it up here in Canada when you were doing it, or did you find yourself stepping away and just?
I didn't need to in Canada. Honestly, as much as it may sound arrogant or whatever, I had such a good sphere of influence where I had a fairly good reputation. So now that I got in this business and there's social proof out there that I am doing a good job and I'm serving people well, and then more people within that sphere hear about it and are willing to put their trust in me for this transaction. So I was always busy because I didn't need to be that guy making social media videos. Like, you don't need to go viral in social media to be successful. I mean, building an audience is certainly important for different applications and a good way to build the structure of a business. But in order to get sales, like, it's all about relationships. As you guys know, 90% of the business is relationships, and then being able to have the knowledge to help people through the process. And then that's it. As long as you can continually provide that value and show people that you understand and know how to best protect them in this situation, then that's all you need. Education, especially, is the big one. Inform the people.
Did you find having the language barrier one of the biggest problems to kind of get going with, like, what's different down there? Paperwork, is it in English or is it in Spanish or both? Or
so our contracts are actually based on the BC contract of purchase and sale. And so it's dual column, Spanish and English. So the legally binding side is the Spanish side, but the way we have our business structured is, like, I don't even really do contracts. We give it to what's called a closing coordinator, which is essentially a lawyer that works for the notary, and they know how they want everything packaged. They know everything that needs to be done. So essentially, for a fee or a piece of the notary fee, the lawyers will, like, organize everything and do everything up, and they don't want to see mistakes in the contract. So, you give them the terms of the contract, and then you hand it over to them, and you're in a group conversation with your clients and the lawyer. And if there's finance is involved, like, that's a whole nother story, as I'm sure you know. Oh, where am I going with this?
And derailed.
yeah,
First one of the episode.
Car derail. What was the initial question? Let me get back here.
What's different?
yeah, what's different?
Oh, yeah. So the language isn't really the problem. All the people that I'm dealing with speak enough English to get by. All the lawyers, all the people dealing with multinational mortgages, they all speak English. And the people I'm working with, primarily, assuming they're Canadians or Americans, and because that's who I'm going to be marketing to, I'm not going to have a bunch of people that don't speak English coming to me for advice because I'm so great. Like, that's just not the way it works. So it's not really too bad of a language barrier. I find that most of the realtors have enough English. If not, they have people in their teams that speak enough English because there's so much foreign investment there. It's more so the culture of how business is done.
Oh, totally.
And it's been one of the hardest things because it's reverse. Everything here is bang, 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 it's done. Like, you get it done now. And the expectation is that. Where down in Mexico, like, they're on full, like, island time, especially being in a beach town like Puerto Vallarta that has been going through rapid growth, and they haven't quite caught up to the world-class city that we were talking about way of doing business. So it's very difficult. I've had a hard time finding partnerships to be able to rely on, like lawyers and accountants and tax advisors to be able to collaborate with, extract information with, and then to share with my sphere of influence, knowing that the business is going to come back to them, because so many of them aren't willing to put in that upfront work because it doesn't pay them right now, and aren't willing to put in the effort. Like, it's very short sighted business mentality for the most part as a general scope down there, and that has been rather frustrating. I mean, now I've got a good accountant who works for a law firm that does kind of everything, including specializing in tax strategies for people that own short-term rentals through Airbnb or VBRO. So, like, perfect. And they speak good English, and they're willing to put the time up front and build their book of business that way. And being in Canada, everyone is willing to collaborate. Everyone is willing to have a phone call or have a conversation or, like, a podcast like this to share their information, to be able to show their value, right? So finding that down there and being able to get things now is rather difficult.
Do you notice a big turnover with the people down there? Like,
turnover within the industry of, like, realtors? It's hard to say because so many people are snowbirds, and they will do business half the year there and half the year wherever they're from. Like, I'm sure I could have done that option if I wanted to, but of course I wanted to make it as hard on myself as possible. And so I cut the cord, left my business, basically left some deals in your hands, and just left and decided I'd figure it out on the way.
We've had that conversation a number of times where I asked Clayton, like, why don't you come up here for a few months, or like set up, visits where you go through and go to different brokerages. That way you're pulling clients down out of the sphere up here. And your goal was to like go cold turkey and see what you can make of it and put all your eggs in that one basket, because you felt like if you don't put all your eggs in one basket, you won't get that started up. You'll always be reliant upon up here.
Yeah, it would have been it would have been more productive for a longer term plan, which I've thought about. Don't worry, I've thought about it for many probably days of, when I'm having a bad day and I'm being hard on myself about the decisions that I've made, because if I were to go do it again, I wouldn't go cold turkey in 5 months. I would be hustling and I would be selling more real estate up until the time I was leaving. I would be actively growing my business so that I could have an actual game plan where the marketing transitions from me to someone like you that I know can take care of it, and I can harvest more off of that over the long term. I would spend less money because I enjoyed those last 5 months to the maximum, and I spent a lot of money. So all these little things that I could have done to set myself up to make the transition that much easier, because another one of those pillars, like I was saying, with my mindset and my physical health, well, another one is your financial health. And if you've got the pillar already set up and already making money for the transition when you get there, it makes like just having that one pillar makes it so much easier. But I just went and wiped them all out.
Yeah.
Same thing getting into mortgages. So like $8,000 in my pocket. I was like, I can do this. And they're like, oh, that's gone.
Yeah, like that disappears in a hurry.
Yeah.
I know, and I've made, like, I don't want to put a dollar value on it, because then you could factor in wasted time of productivity as well. But if I were to put a dollar value, it'd probably be between $50,000 and $100,000 worth of mistakes once you factor in lost time in all these little decisions, and the learning curve of, finding houses and negotiating, dealing with people in the local markets. And because I'm white and don't speak that great of Spanish, like, I get taken advantage of all the time because I can't properly communicate and articulate what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking to be able to get what I want. They just see a white guy and assume there's more money, and then the price tag is higher. So just all these little things compounding on top of each other. But at the same time, like, I've learned so much in the last, I guess I've been gone just over a year and a half, and I think it's invaluable, and it's only gonna serve me down the road and as I get things rocking.
Well, I think it's like that question, right? Would you rather get given $10 million or earn $100 million, or get given $100 million or earn $10 million? And I think we asked this way back in the last episode. We both were like, oh, I'd rather earn 10, but it's like you'll learn just as much, if not more, losing 90 million, but still have $10 million left in your pocket if somebody just gave you $100 million, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's not necessarily with the real estate business, but with other businesses where we're learning, like, we need to learn all these different elements of starting a business, and we need to understand how they operate so that we can delegate it. We go, okay, I understand this, and it's no longer the best use of my time. Someone else can do this more efficiently than me, but I can still understand what they're doing so that I can be there to supervise or critique or give feedback. Because like I can't delegate a task that I don't know anything about. I mean, you can. That's what delegation's for. But when you're the business owner of a startup company, like, it's so much different if you don't have, especially if you don't have the funds to waste and blow on trial and error on things. Like, okay, I need to figure out. I need to become not an expert, but sufficient in SEO as just, one of your areas for building a business with an online presence. Like, and then once I understand how to do this and can actually intelligently instruct someone on where I need help and what I need help doing, like, that just makes the process so much easier. So going through all these different steps of learning all these different elements of a business has also been a big learning curve, but at the same time, pretty awesome.
Yeah. What was the day that was the most difficult? What went through your head, and how did you bounce back?
It probably would have been like 4 days strung together of just being a blob of in a state of fear, in a state of self-judgment, in a state of looking in the past. And those days aren't nice. They're dark days, and kicking yourself out of that, because looking, obviously, as you guys know, looking at decisions you've made in the past and dwelling on those and ruminating on those things, all that's doing is taking away your time and attention and energy away from building your future. So I don't know what the exact remedy is, but there's definitely preventative things from having those things, and distractions is one of them. Social media is another one of them.
Yeah.
Having a healthy routine and not scrolling, which again is social media. Like, all those things are parts of it. And yeah, I don't know how else to describe what those days looked like, but it was definitely a lot of sad pity going on, because like I can go back and look at any decision I've made, and sure, I can get mad at myself for it, but take extreme ownership over yourself. But there's a difference. There's a fine line between taking ownership over something and your actions and ruminating on decisions that you can't change.
Yeah.
So it's one thing to say, okay, I put myself in this position, it's time to get myself out of it, versus, oh no, what am I doing here? Like all these things I've experienced over the last couple of years with moving down here, like it's going to be in a book one day, and it's going to be called "What the fuck am I doing here?" And like all these little micro stories put into place, because at one point or another, my face is in my hands, in my lap, thinking, "What am I doing here?" Right? So it's getting past those days and getting back up to a higher vibration, if you will, and staying on top of things and being positive and constantly pushing everything in your life towards where you want to go. And that's the only thing you can do, really.
So you got like any regrets then so far of like the journey at this point, or?
Well, I'm gonna say no, because there's no point in having regrets. Everything I regret is something that I did, not something that I didn't do. So they're all learning experience, and they're all shaping up exactly where I am right now. And as long as I remain in the belief that I am exactly where I need to be in this moment to get where I need to be, then that's all I need. I don't need to have regrets. Would I do things differently if I did it again? Yeah, absolutely. But that's part of wisdom and learned knowledge and earned knowledge.
So financial pillar aside, what other changes would you do differently going down?
When I left, I had a home gym with a sauna and like such a great setup in my house.
It was okay. It was mediocre.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, half of
It's at Jesse's house.
half of it's at Jesse's house.
I hang my bike medals off of it.
Great use. And I had a pretty bad knee injury where I was
I think you just made a baby.
I was bedridden for a few days. And
I saw him go down on the ice, and I thought he was going to get up right away, and just.
Yeah, but he's like,
no, he called everybody over.
my son calls him Melvin because he's a giraffe.
Oh, yeah,
Of course he's
he was
a-
dancing on ice,
I
and it was the smallest guy on the other team.
was it.
When you're only $120 soaking wet,
Okay.
it doesn't take much to knock you over.
So to be fair,
It was like a chicken skating around on the ice. I was like, "Is that Big Bird?"
This is shit on clean, Dad.
I've never gone down on the ice and not gotten up. That was the first time. Like, just like the pop that I heard and felt, and I dropped, and after that, like any movement of that leg was like excruciating pain. So, because I know people that have blown ACLs and all these other ligaments in the knees and never had a problem, but being meniscus and being cartilage, like it ripped, and I was out for the count. So because Acacia was supposed to move in like a few days after,
Yeah.
and I was laying on the couch with my leg elevated while she moved everything in.
A great
So
husband.
it
Great
was
husband.
planned. It was planned.
I felt like the biggest piece.
I'll be honest. I didn't see him cry.
It's because he saved it for when he was home by himself.
Maybe.
on the
Well,
couch.
he went right to the dressing room, so I like.
Tears
I'm
were happening.
No,
pretty sure.
there were
He said
never-
he just had a shower.
there were never tears, but so the physical element, I would have liked to have that in place in a better stage when I left. Like, I re-hurt my knee in Mexico 3 times, partially from my own thing. One of the things was an accident that happened where there was an earthquake and I dove under the table and I bashed my knee off the concrete and set myself back like
That's right.
3 months of rehab. Tying to the physical would be my mindset around competition. Like, when I was in Canada, I was competing in business and doing well at it. I could compete at anything physically and do well at it. I could, when I wasn't in a relationship, I could compete on that playing field as well. And so all these different things where I could compete, all of a sudden now I'm in like I'm in like a subdued state. I can't compete physically. I'm useless. I haven't competed for business in months. I haven't competed for anything intellectually. I've just been absorbing information and seeing how other people are doing it, trying to make my own like little plan of attack. So I would say the mindset and the physical tying together to being a competitor, because that's who I've always been. I've always been highly competitive, and that's served me very well. So I would definitely have those pillars up to a high standard before dealing with the move.
Out of, let's just go 18 months roughly that you were down there. I know you're normally fairly upbeat, but I know we've had some calls where life's been kicking you in the nuts a little bit. Like, what would you say out of, I don't know how many weeks that would be, but out of 18 months, like 60-40 split of bad days, good days, like 80-20, like actually where.
I would say there's 1 or 2 bad days thrown in every 3 or 4 weeks.
Okay.
I would say. So it's like a roller coaster, right? It down hard and quickly back up, and down hard and quickly back up, and gets to those tops. And
So using that roller coaster analogy, are the highs higher or the lows lower?
Well, that was, yeah, like, do they get worse? Was it like, because like, especially we're not really seeing wins per se on things, where your lows lower each time going forward?
I think it all depends on the circumstances and what is causing the low and what I'm putting into my environment and putting into myself at that time. So if I have an off day and I stay up too late and I'm doom scrolling and whatever else, like it's always a recipe. It's not just one little linchpin. It's always a combination of a bunch of things. So I don't think it's one thing that causes it, nor is it a consistent happening. It's, they come and they go, and you have to figure out how to shift your mind out of that and not be a victim of it, and understand, okay, this is difficult, but I am me and I will get through this and I will come out on top. So it's just a quick reprogram. It's not, I don't think it's anything that I can predict or have like specific patterns on. I mean, there always are common denominators involved in there, and quite often social media is a big one. Or I notice when I spend too much time on social media, that's on the precipice of having a couple bad days.
Now, with your ups and downs and like that, are you finding that like your morning routine, dietary choices, things like that are keeping you then on the path of the right way? Or is it when, like you said, you're doom scrolling, you stay up late, maybe there's an alcoholic beverage or something like that, or dinner's more crappy food, whatever the case is, then you're finding the negative days come after that? Or like,
well, I mean, I've been tracking everything on my Whoop, but I don't necessarily track my bad days and look at the data, because the data doesn't change necessarily for a bad day unless it's followed by a bad sleep where I stayed up too late and didn't get enough sleep or whatever it may be. But I don't think there's really anything there.
no correlation? I know you've been eating probably a lot cleaner than you were up here.
Yeah,
down there,
it's a lot easier.
Prices and stuff, right? But like, you're not seeing kind of any correlation of.
Or an improvement?
No, I definitely think there is an improvement in adding more structure and more healthy things into my day. I mean, the routines are always difficult. I've always struggled with having a routine of like a reading and a meditating morning routine. Like those two things are always the first thing to be eliminated if I've got other things going on. Or if I'm, yeah, exactly. And you don't see immediate effects from them, and they're difficult. And right now I'd usually do that in front of my red light, and my red light right now is at Keldon's house. He's got some dry flakiness in his beard, so I figured to
help him out.
But yeah, lend him that and try it out. But I've got my sauna down there now, so I use that after workouts. My first couple hours is usually just dedicated to me. So like on a perfect day, I'm waking up and I'm doing some sort of a meditation, get outside, put my feet in the grass, and go. I usually go.
Sunning your butthole too? Or?
Yeah, only on occasions. Okay. Only on the days the gardeners aren't there.
That's right.
Yeah, I wish I was joking. And like I said, I've only done it a couple times, just experimenting. I should make that a challenge, a 30-day challenge of sunning my butthole every day.
We can start. We'll see if everyone around 2 kilometers from Mill Lake will start sunning their butthole at Mill Lake for like 20 minutes.
A butthole sunning, a perennial
I don't
sunning.
approve this message.
party. These guys over here got morning yoga.
Yeah.
We got
Buttholes.
but you can't do it. You gotta make sure you catch the direct sunlight though.
Of course.
Yeah.
You follow where the sun's going.
So anyways, and then I
Stay
go
away from parks too when you're doing it.
back on topic, and then 8:30 a.m. is like just down the road. I go to a Muay Thai gym,
Yeah.
so I train Muay Thai for an hour, and then usually stay and lift weights for an hour after that. Come home, eat, sometimes sauna if I've got time, depending on what I've got going on, and then shower and start my work day. So I do really like having my morning couple hours to dedicate to me, my brain, my body, and get those things going. Those are definitely markers of a good day. I can't say for certain if they are bang on like clockwork. If I do them, it's good. If I don't do them, it's bad.
Because I can definitively say the days I train in the morning and like exhaust myself for that 2-3 hours in sauna and maybe cold dip, whatever the case is, I am a better version of me those days.
And it's easier to switch off at night too. Like get in, and that you've brought it up a couple times. Like late nights aren't good.
No.
Right. And I don't even think our bodies are designed to be working the night shift. Right. So knowing that, identifying that problem, and I was going to bring up the part about identifying. I think you identify a lot of the issues that you're having and you're self-conscious about it and you make a change when it's required. Right. So do you find it's easier to get distracted down there or harder to get distracted?
I think it would be
I can answer this for him. It's easier because he plays way too much volleyball.
not for that reason, but I think it is easier because I'm not as busy.
Yeah.
Same, it's just like with the fulfillment thing. I got so much fulfillment from helping so many people because I was busy within my business. When I did 43 deals in a transaction, that's 43 people that I got to help in a big piece of their life in one calendar year. That's a lot of endorphins and dopamine and good feels, and where I don't have that, I'm not getting that fulfillment from people. So it's the same sort of system, but with a different catalyst of having that fulfillment.
Like I find on the nights that people ask me for showings that I have biking plan and I ditch biking, I'm upset that I've ditched biking, number one, but you don't get those, like the release of the energy that you get from doing exercise, but you get the different emotional part from people. So it's like a different energy you get, right?
And yeah, and I think that would be another like pillar that I've talked about, where like, where does your happiness come from? And if your happiness comes from serving others and helping people, and then all of a sudden you're thrown into a situation where like, I'm trying to help people, but have I actually helped people? Not as much as I would like to. I've maybe helped people along the way in their journey and given them bits and pieces to stack up, but has it turned into a transaction in the way that I want to best help them? No. So that's just another piece of it.
So Clayton from, let's say, 2.5 years ago, so leave us a year split, to Clayton now. Is this a better version of Clayton now?
That's a really good question, because I was in such a good spot before we left. And like when we were doing the podcast before, like that was my high. I was having the most fun and having the most success at that point in my life. So am I a better version of myself right this very second?
And like overall too, not like don't nitpick like certain like financially, clearly not like we've talked about, but like overall.
Overall, I think I'm on a trajectory to be a better version, but I don't think I've surpassed it yet. I'm still building myself back up from many different angles, and until the more fulfillment comes from it, I don't think I can get past it. I'm right alongside of it, but until I get the fulfillment end of things, like I've obviously got so much more wisdom and knowledge, and especially with information being just so easily accessible at our fingertips, I have learned so much and probably spent to my detriment like a huge amounts of time learning things that aren't serving me in the now, but are there. So yeah, I'm equipping myself to slingshot past. It's just going to be a matter of filling in a few more pieces of the puzzle, and then I'll move forward.
Are you pinning that success that you had 2.5 years ago as like a pinnacle that you want to reach? That's a new set of goals.
No.
And then the other part to this question is, are you on the journey instead of looking for that destination of accomplishment?
Yeah, I don't take where I was as a pinnacle. Every time I have done an adjustment and gone into something new, it's gone up, and then I have a hard time transitioning to the next thing, and then it goes up, and then have a hard time in transition, and then it goes up. It's always been an uphill climb in what I would consider success for myself.
Are you in a transition right now?
Yeah, exactly.
Do you want to tell the people at home that you're transitioning?
No, I don't. I don't want to use that terminology in this circumstance.
Okay.
It'd be a great time to, though.
He tried to corner me into that.
did.
Did you see that?
It worked well.
In that transition, I have no doubts that this is coming. Whatever money goals, whatever lifestyle goals, whatever it may look like, I have no doubt I'm going to get there. It's just, how long is this railroad track going uphill before I get to the top of the roller coaster? That's what it boils down to. So right now we're just trucking along, climbing, thinking, when is this climb going to end? When is this climb going to end? We're feeding it. We're doing all the things we need to do. We're stacking up all our, like, we have multiple streams, and it's just a matter of how do we open the floodgates and allow the water to flow through. That water being things into our bank accounts, obviously, for a business standpoint. But like, so we're doing all the things and putting in the infrastructure along the way. It's just a matter of when things click one at a time, and I have a feeling it's going to be when once one goes, they all start to trickle in all at the same time, because that's kind of just how it happens.
Yeah. And we're also in an economic time worldwide where people don't have the funds available to be disposing of extra money.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people are very close with their money right now in the market.
Yeah, and because when things are uncertain, people hang on to what they have. Now, there is no way to say good or bad or right or wrong about that decision. That's what decision they made based on the information they have in their circumstances. So like, you can't blame or shame any of that. But when we have options and you have things available that could put people in a better position, but if they're not in the position to be able to jump on it, like, if your equity just shrunk by $300,000 on your house and you're planning on doing a refi or selling or doing something, like, all of a sudden that plan changed. And all of a sudden now that turned in, okay, I'm going to hang out for a little bit and we'll reassess next winter. So that's where I'm saying being a holiday destination is tricky, because I'm not a top priority. Because I'm not, unless someone's moving there full time and making that their priority, I'm a luxury.
People find you on the internet. How they do that?
How they find me? Well, I mean, if they're on Instagram, you can just search my name, Clayton Dibert, or at that Mexico Realtor, or A Day with Clay. YouTube, same thing. You search Clayton Dibert and I'll come up either as the real estate or A Day with Clay, which is just my personal fun project of me showing up and having conversations on camera.
We're being told to wrap it up.
Wow. Well, this is not a new thing.
Not a new thing?
This we don't. We tell you when we're done. Jeez Louise.
Scratching my head here. This is
Yeah. Threw us a curveball. I swung.
Sorry, Clayton. This has never happened with our other guests.
Like I said, I'm happy I got
Must be
to.
our guest selection.
I'm happy I got to come back and do another episode with you guys, and hopefully we can do more in the future if you want it, and if the people are wanting it,
Yeah. Well, we got a lot of
It's a tough crowd.
yeah.
loyal patrons.
They wanted it in the old setting, and when we tried to access it, we were promptly escorted out by
The authorities.
Yeah.
Yeah, the new people that live there didn't like us in their kitchen.
Yeah.
I hope you guys continue this on the way, kind of selfishly, the way we had. Whatever, maybe if you do your own thing, that's fine. But like, I just really like the way it's going.
Oh.
Well, if our previous producer didn't lose, our best season ever.
There's 3 of them missing.
Kept going.
Yeah, good thing you guys got a new producer.
Well, he's shutting us down early. Like, he's not going to get paid full cost. I'll tell you that much.
Thank you for having us interview you.
Thank you.
And if we can come down to visit you and do a podcast down there, that'd be a great honor.
Well, you better.
If you want to sponsor the Conscious Business Podcast, reach out to us.
You need to have a not a GoFundMe, but Patreon.
Oh, Patreon?
We don't have that set up.
No.
Do we need it? Probably.
Only if we do OnlyFans page with our feet or something.
Sunning.
Buttholes.
Just buttholes, nothing else.
Dude, do whatever you want. Like I said,
it's gonna be yours.
yeah,
You're gonna fund
I'm
our
not involved
project.
on that. Yeah. We appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.